Right, so the premise for today's episode is an interesting one. I normally do really cheap bike gear, right? But today I'm at Rouleur Live, and it's like a boutique, really boutique bike show with some really premium stuff in. They've got the Campagnolo stand with the new super record I want to check out, and that's what the wireless one is, $4,500 for that group set. And there's some like boutique custom frame builders and stuff. So in many ways, it's the sort of antithesis of what I normally deal in. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. I doubt anything in here is available on AliExpress. Let's just say that much. Anyway, should be fun. So yeah, let's go. Okay, so I'm actually here courtesy of Joe from China Cycling Pandemonium fame, because he was invited by a brand called EXS, and they've got me instead. So yeah, I'm going to go and find them first. They do some really wicked looking handlebars, so I'll check them out. But yeah, I've got to pay my dues to the people that got me the ticket. So let's go and find them. Okay, sweet. So I made it up to the EXS booth here. Really lovely guys. So I said thank you for the ticket. But I'm looking at their stuff. So this is one of their flagship bars. This is it's their Air Rover. Really wicked because it comes in such a range of sizes. So basically you can go anything from 36 to 420 on the width, and then any combination of that with 90 and 140 on the stem length, which is pretty ridiculous. Another cool thing is that it's molded in one piece, which is interesting. In this particular instance, they use a latex mold and they form it in one piece, which is really cool. But yeah, honestly, really wicked looking stem. Yeah, a lot more premium than the stuff I normally deal with. And while I quickly remember, what's the retail on this?
Retail price is around 450 USD.
450 USD. Okay, wicked.
So certainly more than I would normally look to pay, but not that much more. I mean, that's 350 quid. I recommend paying around 150 for a decent set on AliExpress. Plus they have 32 different sizes. They're legitimately very stiff. The finish was incredible, and you get a 2-year warranty. So not a budget set of bars per se, but considering the other stuff I'll be showing you, yeah, these are good value.
They've also got this little gizmo. It's a 3D printed computer mount, so specially designed for this. It slots underneath. But yeah, 3D printed titanium on this.
So $100 for this, yeah, pretty up there, but around 12 grams, so it is really lightweight, and you'll come to see 3D printed titanium, it's definitely the new hotness in the bike industry, so it does carry a bit of a premium.
Okay, I'm just at the Cannondale booth, and they're exhibiting their Lab71 stuff. From what I can tell, it's just a fresh paint job. That's real innovation. But no, I'm going to ask them what the actual difference is between this and a regular one. Okay, so I had a chat with the guy here. It is more than just a paint job. I mean, I get it. It's apparently Lab71 is their kind of prototype division. It allows them to play around with certain bits and bobs on the bike. So for this particular Super 6 Evo, it's a slightly lighter frame. They dropped 60 grams off it. But I think the killer sell here is the fact you've got exclusivity. So they're only like letting people buy. I think they're doing like maybe 50, a really limited run of these frames. So exclusivity is a big seller for this Lab71 stuff. I mean, looks lovely, but yeah, I'm not sure it's worth the price. But hey, this is yeah, a different game to what I normally play, right? So I'm here at the Scope booth, having a look at these Artech hubs. So these are 3D printed titanium hubs, and I remember Hambini had a look at these in one of his videos. I think it was Eurobike or something like that. But anyway, he mentioned that the surface finish is quite rough, and I kind of have to agree because it looks like it's come fresh out of the printer. You've got striations on it. It's not polished at all. And he mentioned the tolerances where the spokes fit might not be quite as tight as, say, if it had a machined finish. Yeah, I'm kind of inclined to agree with him, but I mean, they're laced up here and they do look lovely. But yeah, I'd love to know what the tolerances are on these kind of spoke fittings. So I had a chat with Nick, the co-founder here at Scope. So it was interesting talking to him about it. So this is what it looks like straight off the print bed, right? And they chop it off, and you can see the surface finish is quite rough, but they post-process it, obviously. So then it gets shipped off to the Netherlands. It gets clamped once, and then they machine both sides. So they machine the bearing seat, the threads on both sides in one go. So the big deal with that is if you clamp it once, do one side, and you clamp it again on the other side and move it, you kind of lose the reference point, right? So clamping once and machining both sides in one go means the tolerances can be really, really tight. Yeah, up to 1/10 of a millimeter on the 3D print, and then I think it's 5 micron on the on the machining. But yeah, impressive stuff. And you know what, the final result looks really wicked, and it is incredibly lightweight. Yeah, really cool stuff.
So quick correction, it's not titanium, it's actually printed from scalmalloy, which is an aluminium alloy. So a hub set is only 205 grams, which is pretty cool. And their latest Artech wheel set is 1,244 grams. Obviously still pretty pricey at 3.5K, but that is damn lightweight for something this deep and wide. Plus the scales are pretty eye-catching. They claim big aero benefits, but not my jam, honestly. But hey, they're trying something new, gotta give them credit. Plus seemingly quite a popular wheel set here. Saw a couple of other bikes rocking these scope wheels on the conference floor.
Okay, so behind me I've got the Reap booth. So these guys are quite interesting. They're an English company producing carbon fiber frames in the UK, which is kind of their differentiator that they've got on their website. Is they're not produced in China, basically, because most of the bike frames in here from the big brands are all made in China, so that's their big selling point. And yeah, the bike they've got on the stand looks lovely, but that seat post looks savage. So I doubt it's going to be the most comfortable thing to ride in the world, but I'm going to have a little look at it. I think from what I read, they're about $5,000, and you kind of have to book a session with them to kind of build the bike up. It's a kind of price on request kind of thing. So yeah, really exclusive stuff. So I'm going to have a look, but it does look like a lovely bike. I'll give them that.
So interesting bunch, these guys. I had a chat. They only made about 30 frames last year, so super bespoke stuff. I wondered, how can you run a company on such low production numbers? But turns out a vast proportion of their business is engineering consultancy for other companies. They're also really experimental in their approach. I remember asking the founder, Martin, about these seat stays on their prototype gravel bike. The horizontal stretches looked kind of unusually long, and he explained they were designed to add a bit more compliance. Then he joked, well, they haven't broken yet. I kind of like that mindset. It shows they're not bound by tradition, and they're kind of trying out new ideas.
So this is quite a cool one they do. This is their TT model. The interesting thing about this, it's not in any way UCI legal. So you might be able to see there's no rear truss on here, and this enormous wedge out the back. Apparently it adds quite a lot of compliance when you're riding along on TT. So yeah, I can understand that for sure. Yeah, absolutely bonkers looking thing. And I love the paint job as well. Yeah, really wicked looking. Okay, so the SEKA booth behind me was one that I wanted to check out. These guys are interesting actually. So I mean, you probably know of them. All their frames are manufactured in China, but they're a brand that's really trying to push into that premium market segment. Their stuff does look absolutely fantastic. Well, I think we're talking about 3K for a frame for these guys. I guess it's one of the reasons why they're here. This is a kind of boutique bike show. They want to be seen mingling with these other kind of premium brands, but I'm going to have a look at their stuff. Their SEKA Spear is their kind of top of the line frame. It's got this kind of weird aero box at the back, which is meant to reduce drag or something. But yeah, going to have a look at it. Looks really cool though, so let's check them out.
Okay, so the audio went a bit funny here, but this is the SEKA Spear, and honestly, I was quite impressed with the hype around this thing. I was almost ready to dismiss it, but up close, there is a lot of detail to like on this frame. It doesn't look off the shelf, if that makes sense. They've clearly put a lot of thought into it, and that comes out in details, like these bottle cages. They've been designed with the bike to reduce drag, down to the fact that the one on the down tube is a different profile to the one on the seat tube. Looking at the one on the stand, again, pretty impressive. I mean, obviously it's a show frame, so it's going to be perfect, but the brake mounts looked great. It uses a BSA bottom bracket, which I really like. Both sides of the BB shell were faced, and the paint finish was immaculate. Now this thingy at the back, kind of reminiscent of the Isoflow cutout in the seat tube of the Trek Madone. They call it the Wind Eye, but yeah, interestingly, rather than just kind of announce the benefits in a bit of copy on the product page, they actually have a white paper readily available where you can dig into the research a little bit more. Honestly, pretty cool actually. I think most companies would kind of shy away from providing this kind of detail to consumers, to be honest. This frame with paint, 720 grams, so very competitive actually. Cost-wise, with seat post and your choice of integrated bars, this one, $2,500. But they also do a slightly heavier frame. Presumably they save a bit of cost on the carbon layup. I think they mentioned it's about 60 or 70 grams heavier for $2,100. So look, I was ready to overlook this at first, but honestly, once I took a closer look at it, I was pretty impressed. And the price, maybe I was kind of a bit desensitized by everything else on offer, but it actually seems quite reasonable, to be fair.
So you go around these booths and you always spot lovely little like extras that they're putting on. So this is something they're currently working on. It's a 3D printed titanium saddle clamp. I mean, look at that. It's just so lovely. They've kind of skeletonized it at the bottom. So this they're working on releasing in 2025, but it's kind of a prototype. A little rough around the edges, but it is so lovely. And this is the kind of stuff you see when you come to these booths. So I've just spotted this on the SEKA Spear here that they've got on the stand. Look at that offset jockey wheel. So this is the same derailleur cage for the Dura Ace group set, same one, but the jockey wheel is slightly offset, which is really cool. So I imagine the bearing is quite large, kind of similar to that absolute black one that is a bit infamous. But basically what it means is that when you move this slightly forward, the chain line is slightly more optimal. But yeah, there's some other cool little features. Like again, we've got a 3D printed titanium derailleur hanger there. Over on that bike, we've got a 3D printed front mech hanger and 3D printed titanium computer mount. So lots of cool little bits and bobs to have a gawp at on this SEKA stand, but that is wild. Right, I've got the Cervelo stand behind me. I think if I go close to that, I'll just spontaneously combust. Okay, so I'm here at the Slipstream booth, and they've got kind of a sister brand. So Slipstream is their apparel company, and their sister brand is this, LYKOS. I talked to the guy. I don't believe him, frankly. You can buy a bike from them like this, carbon frame, nice carbon wheels with bladed carbon spokes, group set, etc., for £1,000 from them. I don't believe that's true. That just seems utterly ridiculous. Because if you can get this for £1,000, I'm definitely getting one. Yeah, maybe it's just the frame he's referring to, but apparently it's for the bike. But yeah, really interesting. So Slipstream is the main brand, and then this is kind of a spin-off with LYKOS. And have a look at these wheels. So similar to the older lightweight design, you've got a carbon hub there with a carbon flange, and the spokes are bonded in. So they've got a regular kind of nipple connection hidden within the wheel, but carbon spokes on there. So yeah, feels too good to be true, but I will check up on that. But either way, really lovely looking bikes, especially this one. It's got the kind of Rouleur Live livery on there. Yeah, lovely. Okay, so it was a little bit too good to be true. So it's £1,000 for the frame, and you get the seat post and a handlebar integrated cockpit up front of your choice. So £1,000 for that is still very, very reasonable. I'm going to ask them a little bit more about it. So this is apparently the only frame set they currently offer. This bike, as it sits here, is 6.8 kilos. So yeah, it's on the lightweight side as well. It's got nice aero profiles on here. Lovely looking bike. I'll try and get a bit more information on it, but yeah, that's a bit more reasonable. £1,000 for the frame set. Still, for this type of bike show, that's got to be one of the most reasonably priced things here, that's for sure. Okay, so I just spoke to another guy. It's not £1,000, it's £1,500 for the frame set. It's still pretty reasonable considering the other things we got going on around here. But yeah, £1,500 for the frame set, which the frame on its own without seat post and fork was 860 grams. I mean, it's quite a chunky aero frame, so pretty reasonable. £1,500 for that, not £1,000 for the whole bike, unfortunately. Just at the Argon18 booth, look at the size of that dinner plate there. I don't know how many teeth, 66 tooth. Look at that, and it's fully carbon as well. So these aren't aluminium inserts, or are they? No, they're not. These are all machined carbon. So this is a race day chainring. But yeah, 66 teeth on it. That is bonkers. And we got a really slick looking aero fairing for the derailleur, saving massive watts here. But yeah, look at that, absolutely ridiculous.
While I was at the Argon18 stand, I also asked about this new KryptonPro, and this term all-road seems to be very, very much in vogue right now. With clearance for 40C tyres, this thing can easily tackle gravel, and the guy at the stand said he rides his on gravel all the time. But I was told in no uncertain terms, it's not a gravel bike. He pointed out that it only comes spec'd with road group sets, but it's not strictly a road bike either. But perhaps I'm completely missing the point here, but this strikes me as a bit ridiculous. It's 12 grand for what, in my view, is either a really sluggish road bike or a fundamentally under-specced gravel bike. I mean, maybe they're rebranding cyclocross at this point, who knows?
Right, so up close and personal with the, well, we're at Campagnolo, and I'm getting up close with the Super Record wireless group set. So this is their top of the line one. They got the Super Record S, which is their slightly more affordable one. I think this group set on here, the Super Record, is about $4.5 grand for the group set. The Super Record S, I believe, is about three and a half. So it's still pretty expensive, but it is cheaper. I watched the video that I'm sure many of you did as well, that Francis Cade did when he got his hands on this Super Record group set. And I'm looking at this front derailleur. It is quite chunky. One of the criticisms he had is that when he was pedaling around, his calf muscles kept scraping up against the front derailleur, and it is quite chunky. I'll give it that. Not exactly the most svelte thing in the world. And different batteries as well for the rear derailleur and the front derailleur. And I've got to be brutally honest, I think it looks very ugly. I don't like these buttons, they're so small as well. But there it is, $4.5 grand, this is what you get. So let me know if you'd spunk that much money on this thing. I mean, that crankset is lovely though, look at that. You can really see that carbon in there. Yeah, lovely looking thing, but very expensive. One thing I will say about this group set, these disc rotors are so lovely. I think this is a saving grace for this group set. Yeah, I just love the look of these. They're absolutely spanking. I think there's a very similar set you can pick up on AliExpress actually, from a brand called Cactus. I've been eyeing those up for a while, and they do look very similar to these actually. Clearly some inspiration drawn from the Super Record, but either way, lovely looking disc rotors. I did notice on the back of this cassette there, can you see that like tooth hanging off the back? And they're all the way round. Can you see that? Those teeth there hanging off the back. Seems strange. I'm gonna ask what that's about. Maybe it's to catch the chain if you go off the back? Yeah, so I had a chat. It was, it's there to catch the chain in the event that it falls off the back of the cassette. I mean, you'd hope if you're paying 4,500 quid for a group set, it wouldn't overshift off the back, but I guess it's better to have it than not. So seemingly quite a big theme around here. It's the really custom stuff, right? So I'm at, it's the Trek booth behind me, and they've got what they're calling Project One, and it's basically same old story with a lot of these boutique brands. It's the custom bike build, right? So you can basically spec everything out, all the components, paint finish, everything, for, I presume, a hefty price tag. Some of the bikes do look lovely, but yeah, again, it's just that super premium end of the market. If you want to design your own Trek, then yeah, have at it. Okay, so I have the Passoni booth. So this is an Italian company, and they do custom titanium frames. And I'm having a look, and there's kind of an interesting little feature on this one. Let me quickly show you. Okay, so on a lot of the cheaper titanium frames, or the kind of lower end ones, I guess, all the cables are externally routed, but here they've taken the time to manage internal routing. So it's tubular titanium, yet they've kind of machined it. So hoses enter here and here, and then if I show you, what they'll have done is they'll have to drill holes into the bottom bracket cup in there after they've welded it, or maybe before, I'm not sure, but still have to kind of drill holes in, because yeah, the run will come out here and out the back. I mean, you'll pay a lot for this, but at least the cable run is nice and tidy. And have a look at that. The finishing on that is rather nice. They've kind of like bulged it out a little bit. But yeah, the finishing is lovely, but you're gonna pay a premium for that. Oh, and as it's Italian, Campagnolo, naturally. So another little interesting frame they've got, this one directly behind me. So it's a titanium frame, and I'll throw up some footage I've got, but they've kind of replaced half the frame with carbon fiber. And I've got to say, it looks lovely. The idea behind it is it saves a bit of weight. So for a standard titanium frame, you're looking at about 1.55 for a medium, whereas this is like 1.2, something around that. So it saves about 250, 300 grams. They made a point to mention that all of the frames are very custom and handmade. So yeah, the weights kind of differ between them because everything's made by hand. But yeah, still absolutely lovely looking bike. And they've got carbon TI chain rings on there, which I really appreciate. Anyway, yeah, lovely looking thing. But again, it's all this bespoke stuff. It's the kind of theme of the show. If you've got money to spend, there are brands here that will take it gladly. So I've been wandering around. There's quite a lot of bikes fitted with Campag Super Record around here. I guess that's the place to do it. But it did occur to me that my group set was 140 quid, which is I think I calculated it to be 32 times cheaper than a Campagnolo Super Record. I mean, maybe it's 32 times better, but yeah, I doubt it, but there we go. Interesting stat, I suppose. Okay, right, so this is a booth that I really wanted to check out, and it's quite kind of small for what I thought they'd have something a bit grander, but basically it's this brand called Bastion, and they've got a really, well, I looked at it before I came, a really interesting kind of idea, I suppose, for the premium bike market. What they do is, I'll throw up some footage from their website. Buying a bike from them is very similar to like buying a hypercar from like, I don't know, maybe like a Porsche or a Lamborghini. Basically, you go in and you can spec everything. So the color of the frame, the weave on the carbon fiber. So yeah, it's very much like buying a really expensive car. So it's adding a real sense of luxury to the buying experience. So not only is it kind of an expensive product, but the kind of experience you have buying it is really premium as well. They give you this thing when you place an order called like an amulet, I think they call it. It's like a symbol of ownership or something, which then gives you access to the online portal where you can go in and sit with a designer and kind of build up your dream bike, and then they'll deliver it to you. I'll go and check out the bike they got on the stall, but it is a ridiculous looking machine, and I think prices start at about 20k, something like that. So yeah, I'll check them out. I've been desperate to see these guys because such an interesting way to kind of differentiate in this quite crowded premium market. So yeah, I was chatting to this guy Ben, one of the founders. Such an interesting kind of idea for that, like I said, to differentiate from everybody else. So the quality of the stuff is bonkers. So you've obviously got a custom titanium lugging, beautiful weave on the carbon fiber. So this is actually a customer's bike. They're looking to deliver it soon. I think they're going to, after the show, ship it off to the Netherlands, I think you mentioned. So just to give you an idea of the kind of customizability, obviously lugs are custom. These, you can specify carbon weave, all that, but even these, like, they have their own custom in-house cranks, and you've got this titanium stem with this lovely handlebar. In fact, I just asked, yeah, this is a custom set of pulley wheels for CeramicSpeed OSPW. So yeah, the level of customization on offer is just, yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, this was about 35 grand. So it's easily one of the most expensive bikes here. And I'll quickly show you that little amulet. So this is what you get. So in a similar way that you'd get like a really lovely key for your Lamborghini, whatever. Similar deal here. So you get this amulet once you put the deposit down. So it's just the whole experience of buying this. It's just crazy. Yeah, in a way, I have quite a lot of respect for it because it just takes that idea of premium to the absolute limit. Yeah, really, really cool. Okay, so these guys behind me, SWI, they're quite interesting. I think they're the only brand here that do a legitimate monocoque frame construction for their carbon frame. So basically, that means that the frame comes out in one piece. Normally, the rear truss, at least the rear truss, is bonded onto the back of the frame in several parts. You don't see it as much these days, that's for sure. I mean, someone like S-Works, all of their frames are all bonded in several pieces. So really interesting to see.
So on closer inspection, the frames look lovely, but here's the thing. While the website claims these are custom carbon road bike frames, the customization is only in the layup, not the size or shape. The frames use standard sizes and geometries, despite their claim of offering frame sizes in very close increments. These seem like pretty typical sizing options to me. The special sauce is apparently the carbon layup, which they individually tailor to rider weight, power, and desired ride feel. To me, that edges on being a bit gimmicky. Like, I know layup makes a difference, but does it really warrant a level of individual customization to each rider when the frames themselves are all identical in shape? Yeah, I'm not entirely convinced. Also, monocoque frames sound cool and do have sleek aesthetics, but with advances in manufacturing and adhesives, bonded frames can be just as strong and stiff, often at a much lower cost. Plus, bonded frames are just, they're inherently much more customizable as well. Yeah, at €9,500 for a frame, I'm not personally sold on this, but yeah, let me know what you think. So this Pinarello TT bike is crazy looking. Look at these kind of molding on the carbon here. Absolutely bonkers. I've never seen that before. Presumably it assists with the airflow. But I mean, I can imagine when you're clamping this down, all the pressure is going to be on the kind of raised points when you're kind of compressing it into the
into the frame and clamping the seat post. I don't know, but yeah, crazy looking thing. And yeah, one thing I have noticed with all the Pinarello bikes here, there are no prices listed. So let's have a quick look. So Dogma F, yeah, no price there. No price there. No, I mean, I guess it adds to that like exclusivity factor. One of the only booths, well, one of the few booths that I've seen with prices listed is the Condor booth, which I'll go and check out in a sec. So they kind of steel frames they're famous for. They've got prices listed. Pinarello, yeah, not so much. So I just spoke to the Pinarello guy. This is Filippo Ganna's bike. So yeah, it's essentially fully custom, built to his specification. You can buy this design. So essentially I was asking about how you secure the seat post inside, right? Because all the pressure is going to be directed onto these points, right? So apparently inside is the kind of, if this is the male version, there's the female version of those kind of bumps inside that these sit into. So apparently in theory you can put it at any height, but it is better when setting the saddle height on this that you go within kind of 1 centimeter increments. I mean, the thing with that sounds like a limitation, but when you're buying a bike like this, you get a sizing anyway, so the seat height will be set to your specification. But yeah, really interesting design. Apparently it's based off the fin of a whale, because it has the kind of bumps and striations and it enables them to turn faster, apparently. But yeah, either way, very cool looking bike and really interesting design for sure. So not sure if I'll have caught it on the 360 camera, but I just ran into Paul from Map Deck. Yeah, lovely bloke. He's here all 3 days for this event. Meeting suppliers, business meetings. It sounds exhausting. So kudos to you, Paul. But yeah, great to meet you. Great to meet you.
I ended up spending a bit of time mooching around the CeramicSpeed booth. In many ways, it kind of epitomizes the vibe here. They had a limited edition OSPW celebrating 20 years of the company, priced at £2,000. Pretty much all of them were sold already, which frankly seems ludicrous to me. Personally, I don't have a lot of time for the product. I can't ever see myself buying anything from CeramicSpeed, for example. But the guy at the booth was genuinely lovely and passionate, not just about the gear, but cycling in general. We ended up chatting for a while about waxing chains and drivetrain efficiency. And while I do not see the appeal, I left with an appreciation for it in some sense. At this point, it's not about the performance gains on paper. It can't be. There are so much better ways to spend $2,000. It becomes more like jewelry or a fancy watch, I think. Owning an item you've lusted after or just enjoy using and maybe showing off to some degree as well. Not for me in the slightest. I think it's quite silly, but I do get it. So Van Rysel, look, I'll be honest, coming to the show, I knew the prices would be crazy, but wandering around the booths, I started to understand the appeal somewhat and how these brands position themselves to reflect that. To a degree, you could sort of see where the money was going, especially the ones that were trying new things. This is where Van Rysel confused me. They're charging premium prices for what, at least outwardly, seems like a pretty basic road bike. Again, the guys on the booth were incredible. So lovely. I grilled one of them for about 15 minutes on all the various specs. But the bike's pretty uninspired, in my opinion. The paint schemes are very plain, and the frame design lacks the sort of unique appeal you'd expect at this price. I mean, take the SEKA Spear, which, like I said, doesn't scream off the shelf. This frame kind of does, in my opinion. Given that this is a brand backed by Decathlon, a company with enormous buying power, famous for affordable sports gear, I expected them to disrupt the market with aggressive pricing. Yet, here we are. This team spec bike is priced at 9,000 quid. I mean, sure, lower spec models are available and they all come with power meters, which is great. But even the entry-level option is $4,000 and weighs over 8 kilos. So look, while I could see the appeal of the other stuff at the show, I was left struggling to kind of understand where Van Rysel fits in. Are they trying to go toe-to-toe with the boutique brands, or are they leaning on Decathlon's reputation to justify their pricing? Either way, it's not really clear to me, and at these prices, I can't really see myself being tempted. But yeah, let me know what you think.
So this is pretty interesting, just to kind of finish up Sarto. So these guys make custom bikes, and look at this. So we go from weave, which has got this like lovely like emerald tint to it, to kind of chopped carbon at the kind of joins. So presumably, yeah, this is a single piece joined to this. Yeah, have a look at that. Absolutely lovely looking. So chatting to these Sarto guys, really interesting actually. So the way they get the color in the carbon, and it's so vibrant, it's actually copper So they paint the copper and then put it into the weave. So you get that really, really big vibrancy. And I asked the guy, obviously copper is dense, right? So is this going to be heavier than a standard carbon frame? No, apparently not, because they don't paint the frames. A lot of the frames that I've been seeing around here, they give an unpainted weight and then a painted weight, because it can add up to about 60 grams, 40, 60 grams to a frame. So the fact that they can do away with the paint and show off the crazy craftsmanship on the carbon fiber means that they can get away with adding a little bit of extra weight. But yeah, fantastic looking bike. Another thing on the red bike on the bottom, it uses a kind of unidirectional carbon, but to get the ripples in it, they add the ripples under the paint, under the clear coat. They add them by hand, which is a bit ridiculous. Yeah, bonkers bikes. I think they're about $9,000 for a frame set. But yeah, absolutely beautiful things. All custom, obviously, made to order. But yeah, Sarto bikes, crazy stuff. Also, one thing I'll put in the clip, but I was ogling at the thickness of the seat post tube was crazy. So it was so thin. I mean, the guy's been in carbon fiber for apparently 20, 30 years, so he knows his stuff. But yeah, the thickness on that seat tube was bonkers. I'll see if I can cut a side to side with the seat post that I usually deal with. But yeah, the thickness of the carbon, it was so thin. But yeah, crazy stuff. All right, so I finished up for the day. I just want to say thanks to EXS for having me down.
Let's go.
Let's go. All right, sick. Cheers, dude.
Cheers.
Cheers. All right, done.
Also, quickly, just as I was leaving, I noticed these on the EXS booth. A 3D printed titanium saddle clamp. Looks lovely. I don't think they're selling it just yet. And this ridiculous titanium bottle cage. Again, 3D printed. The website claims 12 grams, but we actually weighed it just over 10, which is, pretty bonkers. $100 for this. I suspect it might be a bit more durable than those ultra lightweight carbon ones from Carbon Works. But yeah, very cool.
All right, so I'm done. I'm done for the day. Really interesting day today. I was so nervous actually coming here because it's the first time I've done any proper live vlogging in public. I thought it would be really awkward. So apologies if I tried to be as natural as possible, but it's a bit weird when you're kind of walking around with a camera in your face. So I tried my best. But yeah, so interesting. I think the main takeaway for me, obviously the gear here is so expensive and premium, but talking to everyone, virtually every booth, they've got such passion behind the staff and behind their products. Like often they're really bespoke manufacturers. It's just really interesting. They give you an insight into the product that you wouldn't get from like a marketing team. So yeah, really interesting. Anyway, I'm absolutely knackered. So I'm gonna go and grab something to eat and job done. So look, here's the thing, right? When I was kind of scoping out the premise for this episode, I figured I would go to this thing and just kind of gawp at all the prices, right? It's like a bit of theatre, seeing the very top end of what brands are looking to charge for a road bike these days, right? And some of the prices were literal insanity. Like I had no idea you could spend $30,000, $35,000 on a road bike. But towards the end, I was quite split actually. With some of the big brands, it did feel like they were trying to fabricate a sense of luxury, like Cannondale with their Lab71 gear, limiting a certain colorway purely to create exclusivity and kind of manufacture an aura of prestige, as it were, around a frame set. It just feels unnecessary, it doesn't innovate, and it doesn't feel inclusive either, if you see what I mean. Yeah, it just felt like they were doing that for the sake of it. But with some of the other brands that were there, like Reap, for example, they're clearly quite a small operation. Like I said, they only made 30 frames last year, and with all of the supporting processes that are required to build a carbon fiber road bike frame, it can't be massively profitable for them. Yet it still feels like they're trying to deliver something fresh and develop something new. Yeah, that I have a lot more time for. So yeah, that was the kind of two sides of the coin as far as I saw it. But yeah, let me know what you think. And also let me know if you enjoyed this this format. Like I said, it was my first time vlogging in public, and it was quite kind of scary being stood there just talking to yourself with a camera, but I did really enjoy it actually. So if you liked it, maybe I could do like a cover Eurobike next year, something like that. I think I'd really enjoy it. But yeah, let me know what you think. Subscribe if you like this kind of thing. Hit the like button if you enjoy this episode, and yeah, I'll see you next time. Right, ciao.
It's the bonus clip time.
So I guess I wanted to apologise for getting this episode out so late. I mean, all the other outlets have covered Rouleur live, right? But this right here is the reason. I didn't really eat all day at the event. I was busy running around getting footage. So I got a hot dog after I was done, and boom, food poisoning. This is an artistic representation of my insides for the next few days. But yeah, anyway, I just want to say thank you to everyone that came up to say hi while I was there. It was so lovely meeting you all. Really made the day special, actually. I didn't expect it, to be honest. Like such a high-end bike show, I didn't think there was going to be much crossover with some of the ultra-budget stuff that I usually cover. But yeah, really cool. Honestly, it made my day. I hope I wasn't too awkward. Anyway, that's all. I think I'm going to go and eat 4 metric tons of Imodium. And I'll see you next time.